Easter Sunday 1964, a new sound could be heard on the airwaves throughout Britain, the sound of Radio Caroline, broadcasting continuous pop music from a converted ferryboat fitted out as a radio ship and anchored off the Essex coast. Radio Caroline was not only Britain's first commercial radio station, but also the first radio ship to anchor off her coasts. The MV Caroline, with her huge 100, started a radio boom in Britain, stimulating and unique era in the history of British broadcasting. The story of this era is a remarkable odds. The assaults of waves, winds, technical problems, and even gangsters, and, at the end of the day, the assault of that most powerful adversary of all, the government. In Britain, as in Europe as a whole, the story of the development of radio broadcasting is one of rigid government control, of monopoly, and of state interference. In this situation, the offshore broadcasters have been looked upon by the governments of Europe as pirates and branded as such. Yet their activities are, and always have been, under international law, quite legal. The first European countries whose state monopoly of radio was challenged were Denmark and Sweden. As long ago as 1958, Radio Mercur began transmissions to Denmark and was followed by a Swedish station called Radio Nord. In 1962, Radio Syd commenced transmissions from off the Swedish coast.
De lytter til Radio Mercur.
Vardag bjuder Radio Nord toner för miljoner, toner som lätta leker. Var välkomna varje dag till toner för miljoner.
Ni har lyssnat till Radio Syd, Sveriges kommersiella radio. Vi gör nu ett uppehåll i våra sändningar. Tackar er som lyssnat, önskar er en riktig god natt och hälsar er alla hjärtligt välkomna tillbaks klockan 6.
In May 1960, a new offshore station, to be known as Radio Veronica, anchored off the Dutch coast. For several months it broadcast in English as well as Dutch.
This is really a test transmission for CNBC radio at 192 meters, medium wave.
This is CNBC, the commercial neutral broadcasting company, broadcasting on 192 meters, medium wave band. Our transmitter power is to be increased in the near future, and our coverage will, in consequence, be extended. Advertisers in East Anglia are cordially invited to write to CNBC's advertising representative in order to obtain further details. The address is Ross Radio Productions Limited, 23 Upper Wimpole Street, London, West 1.
Let's go, 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 go.
Mochten ze het u vragen, u luistert toch ook naar Veronica?
Go, go, go. 192, goed idee. Radio Veronica.
Anna, go, go!
192, just for you. Everything swings on Veronica.
Radio Veronica, however, became so popular in Holland that English transmissions were ceased in favour of the Dutch language service. Belgium at this time also acquired an offshore broadcasting station on board a ship made of concrete and called the Eulenspiegel, which was anchored off Antwerp. Radio Eulenspiegel, though, met a fate which threatened all shipborne broadcasters, when, in 1962, in heavy seas, it ran aground on the Belgian coast and became a total loss.
Dit is Radio Antwerpen van op het schip Eulenspiegel op de Noordzee. De zender waar u naar luistert.
The governments of Denmark and Sweden in 1962 decided to act against what they regarded as the threat of the pirates. A Pirate Radio Act came into force on August the 1st, 1962. The time is approaching midnight on board Radio Mercur, July 31st, 1962.
Nevertheless, it has given the Danish people many thousands of hours of listening pleasure during these 4 years. And if nothing else, it has given them a choice. Now, all this must stop. That is, according to a new law, Radio Mercur will not be allowed to employ Danish citizens in any capacity, nor will Danish firms be permitted to participate in the role of sponsor. That means that should Mercur continue, it will be in the hands of foreign interests. I would like to take this opportunity to say it has been a distinct pleasure these past few months to be associated with Radio Mercur. I would like to thank the management of the station for their confidence in me, not to forget, of course, our devoted sponsors, without whose help this program, Copenhagen Today, would not have been possible. I would like also to express my gratitude to the engineer who was assigned to this show, Bjarne Jorgensen, and who has proved to be a tremendous help to me in the planning and execution of these programs. And a great big thanks to everyone else here at Radio Mercur, who has contributed in some small way to make this program a success. And the biggest thank you of all goes to you, our listeners, without whose support we could not have existed as long as we have. And now, friends, this is your producer and host for Copenhagen Today, Hal Lawrence, saying, I've enjoyed being your man about town this summer, hoping we'll see each other very soon, and bidding one and all goodbye till we meet again.
Radio Nord and Radio Sud were also forced to close down by the Swedish government. On September 1st, 1964, a new radio and television station began broadcasts from a platform sunk into the seabed off the Dutch coast. The first transmission from Radio Noordzee on the Rem Island.
Hallo Radio Noordzee, 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 hallo Radio.
Luisteraars in Nederland, dit is de stem van het Remeiland die u bereikt vanaf de vrije Noordzee. Dit is uw Radio Noordzee.
The Scandinavian offshore stations have been both popular with their listeners and financially successful. This had not gone without notice, and two groups in Britain set about preparations for stations off the British coast. First on the air was Radio Caroline, and a month later the radio ship Mi Amigo, the former Radio Nord vessel, anchored a few miles from the MV Caroline and broadcast as Radio Atlanta.
Radio Atlanta was running a regularly scheduled test format. This is not the official format of Radio Atlanta. The Music heard today was a test format for Radio Atlanta. Radio Atlanta has been testing.
In June, the two organisations merged, and the MV Caroline set sail for the Irish Sea and her new position off the Isle of Man, broadcasting as she went.
And then I want to send a special greeting to all sailors of all nationalities sailing on the high seas. Well, from Radio Caroline, good luck and good sailing. Well, that's true. And now to the point, we are passing, at 9:30 we are passing 6 miles south of Hastings. 6:30, 6 miles south of Hastings. I'm a little bit nervous, you know. That's the first time I'm on board. You're doing very well indeed, Captain. It's marvelous. 9:30. Well, then we get the Royal Sovereign. The Royal Sovereign at 10 hours. At 10 hours, the Royal Sovereign. And Beachy Head, people on Beachy Head, you can see your stars at 10:30 in the morning. When you see a high mast, 180 feet long, there will be Radio Caroline passing you.
In December 1964, an even larger and better equipped radio station appeared off the south coast of England, from the United States. Radio London, or Big L as it became known, brought with it the smooth, polished professionalism of American commercial radio, adapted for the British market.
This is wonderful Radio London, where you're hearing things, where you're hearing things.
It's smooth sailing with the highly successful sound of wonderful Radio London. Have you ever been?
Have you ever been? Well, needless to say, you're okay with wonderful Radio London.
Not all the early pirates were as professional as London or Caroline. A number of organisations set up small, low-powered and very amateur stations on board the old World War II anti-aircraft forts which are to be found in the Thames estuary. On the Shivering Sands fort, pop singer Screaming Lord Sutch set up Radio Sutch, and on Red Sands fort, a few miles away, there was Radio Invicta, and later Radio Essex and Britain's Better Music Station established themselves on a fort off Southend. Initially, their transmissions were irregular and of very poor quality.
Good morning to you all, and a very, very, very good morning to you from Smith Cherry here at Radio Satch. You are tuned to Radio Satch on 197 meters, medium wave, and a very good morning to you.
You're in tune with your good music station, Radio Invicta, broadcasting on 306.1 meters in the medium wave band, where the time is 11 a.m. And 11 a.m. means, of course, it's time for Strictly for Highbrows.
You're listening to the voice of Essex. That's Radio Essex, transmitting on 222 meters, Britain's first and only local commercial radio station, broadcasting 24 hours a day with the fullest possible variety of music.
A minute to midnight, and I'm afraid that brings us to the end of our transmissions for today. Early close down tonight to facilitate engineering work. Don't forget though to join Tony Mandel at 6 o'clock on the weekend special program. BBMS broadcasts 24 hours a day from the Fort Knock John, 22 miles from Southend in the North Sea. And so on behalf of the management and the staff of BBMS 222, Britain's better music station, this is Richard Power wishing you all, wherever you may be, a very good night, good morning, and bye-bye.
In late 1965 and early 1966, the real offshore boom came. Sweet music, in contrast to pop, came, for example, from the transmitters of Radio 390 in the Thames estuary.
390 time is now just after 6 o'clock. Radio 390 presenting Eve, the woman's magazine of the air, takes you stateside.
On January the 1st, 1966, Radio Scotland began transmissions from a converted lightship called the Comet, anchored off the Scottish coast. In June, Radio 270 dropped anchor off Scarborough and began broadcasting to the northeast of England from the converted Dutch lugger Ocean 7. That same month, an American operation with massive financial backing took the air from a converted American Liberty ship, the Laissez-Faire. From this ship, 2 stations broadcast: pop from Radio England and sweet music from Britain Radio.
Step up to a new level of musical velvet. Smooth sounds of the smart set, hallmark of quality, Britain Radio. Hallmark of quality, Britain Radio.
Live this weekend where the action is on Swing and Radio England.
Radio Scotland calling you. Down about the Radio Scotland station, then on 242. Who has all the latest records? Radio Scotland leads the way. For all the best in entertainment, stay with 242 all day. On for you at Radio Scotland calling you. Down about the Radio Scotland station, then on 242. Don't you miss your favorite programs, doesn't matter where you are. In the home or in the factory, Radio Scotland's never far. On for you at Radio Scotland calling you. And the Radio Scotland station, then on 242.
You're tuned right now to 242, baby. That's Radio Scotland swinging for you. Behind the microphone here, Roger Gale. That was Miss Von Tullibas with the number 11 sound from this week's Melody Maker Top 50, which is the Top 50 that we use right here on Radio Scotland, where the time now is 30 minutes after 11 o'clock on a Sunday.
It was wonderful. Did you play it for me?
No, baby, I didn't. I played it for me. Now, before we go any further, have you all heard about the Radio Scotland clan? We have our own clan right here on Radio Scotland. It's the 242 clan. If you'd like to join, it's the 5-bob postal order to the Radio Scotland clan, 38 Bar Street, in Glasgow.
That's it. I was Kaiser Bill's Batman from Whistling Jack Smith, number 4 in the 270 Fun 40 this particular week.
Weather break, go, go!
And the latest news we have for you from the weather desk is that strong northerly winds are blowing over most of the country, but are moderating slowly, whatever that means. Tonight in eastern England and southeast Scotland will be mostly cloudy with some rain at times, especially over the east coast and snow over high ground. Tomorrow's outlook, rather cold and cloudy with more rain on the east coast. Whether or not to play a record, in fact. 270 riser from the Gas. Dream Baby. Now, welcome back to the Brendan Power Show.
10 offshore radio stations were now broadcasting into Britain from around her coasts, and still more were planned. Stormy times were ahead, however, for the radio ships.